All right. So we already, as I said before, we have already some examples of what a culturally competent program organization looks like. And then HRSA did a survey among all their programs from 1997 to 1998, looking for signs of what the federal programs that are funded by them were doing around culturally competence. And this is what they found, that a culturally competent program tends to define culture broadly. We are not going to have time to define culture here for ourselves, but that is another exercise that as an organization you will be able to do together with your own community. But we need to remember that culture, it is not only about language, it's not only about race, it's not only about ethnicity. It is many different things. And then, even in this room, probably we can find many different cultures. And then one that perhaps unites us is that we're all professional in the healthcare field. And that's something that we have in common. Value clients and cultural beliefs. As I said before, if I ask in this room colleagues that have blood or DNA in their bodies that they are Latinos, let's do that for 1 second. Anybody that has Latino DNA in their body, please stand up. All right. Who else? Okay, any more? See, probably all of you do, because you come from, the same mother in Africa. Remember the Discovery Channel, how they tell you that that's where we all came from? So yeah, in a way, you include the values from all clients, and the only way that you're going to be able to provide competent services is that if you know what makes them tick, as we say in English, right? Recognize complexity in language interpretation. Earlier, I was talking to Hector and some others in terms of, there are many different words that I say in Chile that mean something completely different, let's say in Puerto Rico. For example, the word for baby in Chile is guagua. It's like the guagua, it's such a cute guaguita, Puerto Rico, that is a bus, all right? So one day, one of my classmates in the university, he goes, Myriam, I just witnessed the most awful thing ever. The guagua hit the lady and killed her instantaneously. And I go, how a little thing is gonna do that? No, this was a big guagua. And okay, let's talk, what's going on? And then I find out what a guagua was in Puerto Rico. And so, it's not very, it is complex. It is not something that you said, okay, I'm going to find a translator that is going to come in here and translate for this community. How about if they don't speak Spanish per se? How about if they speak a native language? In Guatemala alone, there are about 23 different native languages. And so, and then in other parts of Central America and also in South America. So cultural competent programs, what they do also, they facilitate learning between providers and communities. The colleagues that presented just before me, they emphasize that it's very important to involve the community. And so not only because we want to learn from them, but because also, we also as providers have something to teach them, how to navigate a system that they are not familiar with. Involve the community in defining and addressing service needs. What is it that they need, and then how do we provide those services? And then they collaborate with other agencies. When there is little resources, especially in these difficult times, it's very important then to see who else is providing services to Latinos, and how do they do it? If they have been successful, what can we replicate? And then professionalize staff hiring and training. This is so important, and it goes together with institutionalized cultural competence, meaning that the organization commits itself that cultural competence is going to be an added value to their organization, that they're going to hire people that will serve the community, that they're bilingual, but not only that, that all staff within the organization is going to have a performance review at the end of the year, and part of it, it will be how well they serve the community. And so then everybody knows that that is expected. So this is what HRSA said that a cultural competent care should look like. Whoopsie daisy, there we go. So, what does it take to create a culturally competent program or a clinic or an organization? These are the strategies that we found when we were doing our research that we should utilize. It is a long process, and for each of these strategies, you will take months. So you will need to hire somebody or have a group in your organization that will take this process on and do it. So you start with conducting an organizational assessment. Look in-house, how the house is doing. Develop a community profile, then provide ongoing cultural competence development and training for all staff. Integrate cultural competence in your organization, mission, policies, and practices. Improve language access for clients with limited English proficiency, and anticipate and address barriers across the organization. And here are each of the strategies. I need to go backwards. There we go. So what are some of the elements that you need to include when you're doing an assessment? When you are looking at your home and say, what are some of the things that we are very good at? What are our weaknesses? And then we need to look at, especially beginning with the mission. Is it included in the mission? Does it say that, this particular clinic or this particular program doesn't discriminate because of race, because of ethnicity, or does it say also very clearly that we all, we serve Latinos? It is included in our goals. Is it included in our vision? Then, is it included in the organizational policies and practices? Is it written somewhere? How we are kind of creating behavior of our staff and the people that are going to be serving the community. Staff and leadership composition, does our staff reflect the community? When they come in, the first person that they see, does it look like them so that they feel welcome? Then definitely hiring staff recruitment plan and practices. I think that sometimes we're so busy doing so many different things that we don't have some of these policies in place to start with. It is hard to keep up with staff performances and all of that. But perhaps here is where we begin, to be able to do that for everybody, and especially because we want to be culturally competent. Then training is very important, not only, and in a minute I'm going to talk a little bit more about why it's important also to train our bilingual staff. Just because they speak Spanish or because they represent the community, it doesn't mean that they also have the health language, or that they're able also to interpret well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about what that means in a minute. The physical facility, and I think that probably here in Iowa is also a little bit more difficult to get to clinics because it's rural, and so they have long distances to cover. But also, as people come in, what does it look like?